Hey guys, Aiden Lee here, and now we are going to be moving on to paintbrushes. This is going to be the second one. We already discussed in the first one how palette knives are very similar to paintbrushes, and we're going to learn about the different types of paintbrushes. Now, there are many different types of paintbrushes, but I'm going to show you the most common ones that you'll probably have if you get like a basic set. The first one that I'm going to talk about is the most common, round brush. Round brushes obviously have a rounded edge, and they are adaptable for all different types of styles. They could be used for obviously spreading paint around. They could be also used for creating lines. So for example, let's just take a bit of red. Obviously, they're great for doing color. They're also great at doing lines. Sometimes if you're just trying to get like a specific design, you can see that they're really good at this. One's like meant for like all types, and we are going to move on to our next one. Our flat brushes. Flat brushes are similar to round ones, but they come in a multitude of shapes and sometimes even sizes. You can see that I have flat. This technically counts as an edge, but it also counts as a flat as well. Now the flat ones are, this is here. This one is an all-round trades kind of thing. This one is mainly meant for spreading paint around. That is what it was made for. It is really good at getting that paint around. Obviously, if you have a bigger painting, you're going to use a bigger flat brush. For this painting, look, I would just, add it, just spreading color around. Now, the third one is a more of a rare one that most times you gotta really look around. Now here is your blending brush. I love this brush. This brush is meant to be mainly used for blending. So let's take the green. I'm gonna take it on my flat brush, add a bit here. Why not? Add a bit more. And look, it's nice, but it's not blended. This is where I would take my blending brush. Now, blending brushes, guys, never should be wet. They can be wet if you need, but mostly should be used just dry. And you can see that once I do it, really gets that color in. And you can see that it kind of took the color. It's taking the color. So like, if you're going over an area, you can see that it goes in. Obviously, take it down a bit. See, look, you could take the paint down and blend it lower. But you can see that, look, it becomes one shade. It's mainly meant for, obviously, if you're doing lots of colors and you're trying to, you see, look, you see these lines that are like stuck there? Look, blend those lines out of there with your blending brush. The brush gets rid of those harsh lines and makes it a nice, slow transition into it. It's really important that you have one of these because this is like one of the best tools to use. Okay. Let's move on to our next one. Our next one is the fan brush. Now, obviously, look, it is exactly like a fan. I can't fan myself with it, obviously, because it's too small. But the fan is similar to when we use the palette knife in textures. This is your texture brush. This is where you get those unique lines. It's mainly meant for creating multiple lines or dots, but it is also used for creating those textures. So let's say, for example, I want to get like a specific design. Look, it can make, hold on, let me just add a bit more. It can add these beautiful lines. See, adding a lot of texture to it, or, if you want to do it a more vertical way. Let's say you're making a tree. This is how you would get those like beautiful petals. But this is your texture brush. This is where you get those lines. So the next brush that we're going to be focusing on is our petal brush. Now our petal brush is pretty awesome. It's sort of like a pencil. It comes big at the bottom and then goes whoop thin at the top. So it goes upward and thins as it goes up. So it is meant for petals. Now, petals of a flower, you're trying to get that design. Petals are really hard sometimes. So if I'm using a round brush, for example, it might come out nice, but I would have to do 2 strokes, 3 strokes, making sure that it looks proper. This one will only take 1 stroke. So you come out, it usually comes out thick like this, and then you turn and twist. Petal. Let's do another one. Thin, going out. Pretty simple. Mainly meant for like sunflower flowers or any type of petal that you're gonna work on. It is, or if you're not working on petals, sometimes you could do teardrops or water droplets, as if you were doing a rainy day painting or a petal falling off of a blossoming cherry tree. And lastly, the last one that we're going to be focusing is a very, very tiny brush. And this brush is our line brush. Now these brushes are really thin, similar to our petal brush, but they're extremely thin. And if I say, for example, I take a bit of white. Let's take a bit of white here. I'm going to take a bit of white. I'm swirling it. And if I want, similar to this, if I don't want multiple lines and I just want one beautiful line going out like this, I can do that. If I want more of a straight line, if I want to do outlines of the piece, this is where I would use my thin brush to really get those outlines associated. You can really get it. I'm really just getting those lines in. And you can see that it's meant to get those thin lines. So if you're trying to do an outline of a tree or an outline to really emphasize the piece, this is why you would use your line brush. And these are just some of the common ones. Obviously, some people use different types of brushes, but these are the most common ones that I would personally use. So I hope that you guys learned something today, and I recommend that you guys pick up all these types of brushes and test out all of these methods, because there's, you know what? Practicing makes you a better artist. So always practice, guys, and always learn. Thank you guys so much.